It has been a long time coming. You asked, I delivered. You guys, the merch store is finally open. It took such a long time to perfect these two products, but I felt like if we were going to tell people and brag about the fact that we're in the Old Money Country Club, we better get it right. So after doing an extensive vote on Instagram, thank you for everyone who participated, we have the most comfortable, coziest, warmest, thickest, most luxurious Old Money varsity sweatshirts. They come in two colors, maroon and forest green, have a huge, beautiful varsity Old Money logo right across the front so people know where you went to university. And they're oversized. So they're meant to be worn super loose, super comfortable. They're so warm. I can't get over it. But I think they're really cute because you can kind of style them up with some like gold earrings or just your everyday leggings. And of course, we have the overserved at the Old Money Country Club hats that come in three colors. We have maroon, navy, and green. And these are super cute adjustable caps. They're perfect for your hot girl walks or the days where you just can't swing a hair wash. Everything is available for you at oldmoneypodcast.com/shop. I'll put the link in the show notes. And through the end of February, use the code INSTA, INSTA, to get 15% off. INSTA. These are limited edition offerings. I'm not going to make these again. So once they're gone, they're gone. I'm already running low on some of the green sweatshirts. So if you've been waiting, don't wait because we're going to run out of different sizes. Again, it's oldmoneypodcast.com/shop. Use the code INSTA, INSTA, like Instagram, for 15% off. I love you guys so, so much and cannot wait to see you in your merch. Make sure you tag me at Old Money Podcast on Instagram so I can repost you. oldmoneypodcast.com/shop. Welcome to Old Money, a show dedicated to helping you build the trust fund you wish you were born with. Ladies who lunch, listen up. Life is not about looking rich. I want you to build a life and a legacy that feels rich in every sense of the word. If you're ready to stack cash, talk shop, and trade insider secrets, you're in the right place. These are the new rules to Old Money, so let's get after it. Hello, rich girls. Welcome back to Old Money, the podcast for women building the trust funds they wish they were born with. I'm your host, Amber Frankusen, and today we are here with a guest that I have been teasing for weeks, maybe months, and the day has finally arrived for the big reveal. If you are an overthinker, a high performer, maybe an overachiever, maybe somebody who wants big things out of their life, and if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming that's you, I'm going to go ahead and tell you to favorite, download, save, star this episode right now, because I know you're going to come back to it again and again for the wisdom that is about to be uncovered, because our guest specializes in helping those high-performing, overachieving, overthinking people uncover their subconscious beliefs, bust through those limiting beliefs. She helps them relax their brains so they can fully show up for their big goals in and out of work, and helps people feel refreshed, present, and at ease. I know she does this because she's done it for me and has fully changed my life. She does this by weaving clinical hypnosis, breathwork, somatic, and sound healing into transformative group and individual healing experiences for her clients. And she has said that her clients say it's some kind of witchy brain magic. I can confirm that's what that is. I am beyond thrilled to introduce someone who has been such a support to me. She doesn't know this, but she is a member of my spiritual board of directors. Please welcome to the show, somatic clinical hypnotist, Julia Balto.
Oh my gosh, what an introduction. I am so thrilled to be here.
I'm almost embarrassed at how much I fangirl over you and how much we talk about you in my household. You have become such a part of not just my life, but my family's life, our network's life, and you have impacted all of us in such incredible ways. So thank you for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom with the rich girls. I'm so excited for them to hear from you.
Well, no one can see it now, but I'm blushing. Thank you so much for having me here. This is a topic that I'm so passionate about, and I'm just really excited to be here.
So let's start from the very top. We need to know who you are and how you ended up here. So can you take us back a little bit on your journey and tell us how you got to where you are?
It has been a little bit of a windy road. I now practice as a somatic clinical hypnotist. I was getting my doctorate and then I mastered out with biobehavioral kinesiology. So I was looking at essentially like behavior change in exercise. I, as a kind of high achiever, type A overthinker, I struggled most of my life with depression, anxiety, burnout, moving through these cycles of this, like, I'm here to do big things in the world. And then feeling like, I hear my clients say this all the time, I'm the only one holding me back. My brain was getting in the way, my self-doubt, my perfectionism, and I would just move through these cycles. And so I started with, right, exercise, food, like habits. These change how we feel. These allow us to show up and have better performance. And what's the science behind how do we actually make those changes? And then as I continued moving in that field, I went into health coaching and then continuing to say, okay, moving my body helps so much, eating better helps so much, sleeping better. Like these are foundational for me. They've made such big changes. And I'm still having these reoccurring thought patterns, these beliefs. And so that's what led me into the world just in my own personal journey of the rabbit hole of somatics and breathwork and then hypnosis and kind of pulling from what's been most impactful in my life. And because I specialize now in working with high performers and overthinkers, they're the practices that I've found are the best at quieting some of that incessant chatter and bringing us a little bit more present into our bodies. Because what I found is when we get into our bodies in this moment, this is where we can make change. This is where we let go of all the baggage that we're carrying. This is where we can rewrite pieces. This is where you connect back with, you already know what you need to do. And the next step, you just need to remember that you know it.
Tell me a little bit about, and I've always wanted to ask you this question. What is the training for a hypnotist? Do you get hypnotized a lot? Do they talk to you about the voice that you use? We have to talk about it.
The hypnotic voice.
It's so hypnotic, you guys. The better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets is in my brain all the time. Does somebody teach you what to say? Tell me about it.
So something that's important to note is that hypnotherapy, it's a completely unregulated industry, like coaching, like a lot of the current wellness world. And so what that means is people can come in with various backgrounds. You can do various trainings of different, let's say, levels of quality. I've
Okay.
done many different trainings. Some of them have been more supportive than others. There is a formal process when we talk about, so hypnosis, should we define what
Yeah,
hypnosis is? Would that be
let's do
helpful?
it. 100%. Absolutely.
So hypnosis, it's not mind control. It is not voodoo. If I could control people's minds, I would probably be maybe somewhere different than where I am right now. So hypnosis is just the act of teaching you how to deeply relax your mind and your body so that you open up into this state of suggestibility. So there's this idea, sometimes we'll see it. There's a diagram of like the iceberg. If we think of how there's an iceberg and the tip of it peaks up above the water, but beneath the water, there's the massive iceberg. So sometimes some models will refer to our conscious mind as the tip of the iceberg. It's what we can see above the water, and our subconscious mind is what's below. So our subconscious mind relating to our prefrontal cortex, this is what we have control over. This is where we're thinking and we're focusing and we're analyzing. It accounts for about 9% of our consciousness. It's limited in its scope. And so the subconscious mind and the unconscious mind, the body, everything that's underneath that, that's the home of our emotions, our feelings, our fight or flight response. And we're going to talk about that later. And so we call that waterline, that bridge between conscious and subconscious worlds, your critical factor. And when your critical factor is raised, we're rejecting other changes. This is where people can really struggle with affirmations. If you're sitting there going like, I am rich and I am wealthy, and your critical factor's up, she's like, bitch, no, you're not. Like you're
Yes,
sitting in your apartment. Like, and
that's a
so
lie.
we will reject those affirmations. So with hypnosis, when we relax the body, we relax the critical factor, we relax the mind, it makes you more suggestible to it so that we can actually really align what's there consciously with what's subconscious as well. When you're watching a really good movie, you're sitting there, you're in it. When the characters jump, you jump. When they cry, you are sad. If it's a bad movie, you're sitting there like, who wrote this script? This isn't real, right? And so that's another example of the critical factor. When the critical factor is lowered, you're in the experience and your brain then is actually open to the changes that we're suggesting. Forget your initial question if that just answered any of
No,
it.
I mean, well, it's taking me in a million different places. We will come back to the who taught you the voice. That's what I want to
Oh, the
know. But
voice. Okay,
yeah,
good.
but before we get there, I have to ask like the other side of hypnosis, which I think is maybe the side as a society we're more exposed to, which is this kind of like performative mind control magician thing. And I have to shout out my graduating class, Folsom High School, 2005. I might have told you this story, Julia, but I have this memory of our sober grad night where we had a hypnotist come and perform, and she hypnotized a guy I went to high school with to act like a duck and lay an egg on stage. And I have never seen something so crazy before in my life. What is that?
I love it so much. So stage hypnosis, it's still hypnosis. We're doing it differently. You probably remember when you were in that audience. They're slightly different than what you and I have done and what I do in my practice, right? But they're walking you through these processes of relaxing down, and you're just relaxing your body. Because it's not mind control, anyone who doesn't want to, I remember my high school hypnosis, I was like, do not pick me. I
Me
was
too.
so
Like, no
introverted and
way.
shy. I was
So
like, stay away
embarrassed.
for me. Do not call me up on that stage. I did not relax, and I was not one of those people who raised my hand. So it's the same process. They're relaxing you down. The people who go up on stage, generally, they're entertainers. They like to be class clowns. They have that level of confidence. And so when we're using hypnosis, there are specific processes. We have inductions and deepeners and different techniques. There's the hypnotic voice. Some people will find you can't work with a hypnotist if their voice bothers you. If you don't like the sound of my voice, I'm not a good hypnotist for you, because you're going to be there sitting there saying, oh, her voice is so annoying or cloying or
Okay.
a wonderful voice. I think everyone will love my voice. And so there are specific techniques and processes that we use. And in stage hypnosis, it's different because we're using it for entertainment purposes. In our work, we're using it more for therapeutic purposes, for relaxation, for shifting limiting beliefs, for getting in touch with those younger parts and changing the way that you're showing up in your day-to-day life.
Okay, that's so interesting. And so you've already taught me three terms that I've never heard before, which was critical factor, induction, and deepeners. And so you learn this all in your training. And what does that look like? How do you learn how to do this?
So there are many different trainings out there. They will walk you through and teach you. There are so many books. Anyone can learn hypnosis. This is a natural state. We are going to talk about this, but you can hypnotize yourself, right? Because really all hypnosis is self-hypnosis.
Okay.
It's not something that I'm doing to you. I'm not doing it for you. I'm guiding you, and I'm excellent at it. But
Yes, you
really,
are.
I'm just supporting you in that, right? You're the one relaxing your body down, relaxing your mind down. So you can pick up, there's so many books out there, Amazon, Google it, like books on basic practices to hypnosis. We can talk about a couple of those when we do self-hypnosis. How do you do that? So there's a couple of set steps that you follow that any of these trainings and books will teach you. And then now we start to play and find our own particular flavors with it of your voice and specific phrases we use and certain imageries. There's certain techniques that I use I've found resonate better with people who are very thinky. I'm neurodivergent. A lot of my clients are. So when our brains are really going, I found certain techniques resonate better with those people versus others. And what's neat about what I love about it is there are set techniques and standards, and then it gets to become this very intuitive, flowy process, both as a facilitator and then with your individual clients. You find sessions that I have with you are very different than sessions that I have with someone else based off what we're working on, based off your personality, what resonates most with you.
Okay, that's so interesting. So let's get into the process of being hypnotized. And I think one of the things that has been so transformative for me is not only the time I spend with my eyes closed and the mask on, but the conversations that we have ahead of time. You are so good at pulling these common threads through my life. Talk to me about what that formula is and how we get started. Walk us through the whole process.
So when we come into a session, our sessions right now, they're about 60 minutes long. And so I love to start my sessions by having my clients reflect on their wins. And this is because a lot of us struggle with this. So it's practice for our brains to consciously pause and reflect on what's been going well, what have I been learning? And this is a just positive strengths-based approach. And then we move into what are you wanting to change, which is such an important question in the way that I practice, which is often different than forms of therapy versus rather than focusing on maybe dialing deep down into here's the problem, we're saying, where do we want to be? If we could change something, what would we want it to be? So all of our conversation, and we'll spend anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. And I'm coaching you, I'm asking these questions. We're coming to the space of really understanding where do you want to be? And what does that really look like? What does it feel like? What is the experience of being there? We tend to be really vague and we tend to say, I don't know. I just know I want to not be here. I know I want to not be anxious and not worrying about how stressed I am and how little time I have. And so a lot of our time spent talking is really us just shifting. Okay, when you're not anxious and when you're not stressed for time, what are you? And what does that look like? And what does it feel like? And what are you doing in that space? So we know where we're heading, as well as looking at, okay, and what stops you from being there now? What are the beliefs, the past experiences, the current emotions that you're experiencing that are preventing you from being there? So we're talking through all of that. We're really getting clear on where we're heading, on what you're wanting to achieve. And then we quote unquote take you into hypnosis, right? And so in my practice, when you come to see me in person, we have this cozy little nest where we lay you down on the floor. We've got bolsters and blankets and an eye mask. So we get you just really cozy. Because again, the point here is to have you be comfortable. So we're relaxing your body. And then I take you into trance. And you know from this experience, there are different levels of trance, right? So we can measure this through EEG activity, through brainwave activity, but sometimes we're in lighter levels of trance. And it feels like you're just laying there listening to me talk.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about it's so wonderful to relax, isn't it? Don't you love relaxing? I say silly things that might even consciously, you're like, what is she talking about? And so when you're there, when we're first diving in, when you're in those lighter levels of trance, you're just listening to me talk. You're awake, you're conscious, you can hear me the whole time. As we move through our session and you start to relax down deeper and deeper, people will find that sometimes their mind starts to wander. Some people have really visual experiences. Some people they completely go to other places. Some people have big feelings. Some people work more in their mind. So now they're just in their thoughts. They will move in and out of deeper levels of trance. And so for some people, it can feel they're asleep, but they're not. They can kind of hear me. They can't. They come back in and out. And when someone's in that trance state, that's when I'm working with them based off what we've discussed they're looking to achieve. I'm weaving in different metaphors. We're shifting, doing different exercises with your brain of how you want to see this. Sometimes that hypnosis is conversational. So we're talking back and forth. I'm having you cue me in as to how you're experiencing it. And that's generally the process.
I mean, it's generally the process, but it's so rich and vivid and visual and like intense. And you're totally right. There's so much nuance to it. And the first time that I did hypnosis with you, I quote unquote woke up. I wasn't asleep, but afterwards you have this feeling of like you just woke up and you feel so refreshed and good, by the way. But I was, number one, I was almost like shy. And I was like, what just happened? And also, I was, as I tend to do as an overachiever, I was like, I don't think I did that right. What did you tell me then?
What did I tell you that I probably told you did it right?
Yes.
Is there something, what, did I
Yeah.
tell you something specific?
You were like, if you feel 1% more relaxed, you achieved your goal. So tell us what's happening with our brain waves in hypnosis.
Yeah. So when we look at measuring brainwave activity, they do this through EEG. We see that there are a couple of predominant brainwave states. This is nuanced. We're never always in one state, right? But generally. So when we have gamma and beta brainwave states, these are very fast, very active brainwave states. That beta mode is where most of us high achievers and overthinkers are spending most of our day. Because that beta brainwave state, it's our thinking, it's our analyzing, it's our rationalizing, it's our doing. This is where we're going. And it's very useful. We need this to work, to produce, to move through the world. When we spend most of our time in our beta brainwave state, that is when we start to slip into burnout and then other kinds of like physical experiences and symptoms and things like that. So beta is one of our most active states. Just below that is alpha. This is a slightly now more relaxed brainwave state. Internal chatter starts to slow. The critical factor starts to lower a little bit. This is where if you're a visual person or an imaginative person, we start to have some more of that come in. This we can access all throughout our day. We do often, sometimes when you drive even, how you're driving and you're not consciously paying attention to where you are going and yet you are driving, you're probably getting some alpha brainwave activity there. Light meditation states occur here. Then we move into theta, and theta is this much slower brainwave activity. And that's that deep hypnosis space, that space where you're like, I'm sleepy, but I'm not. I'm hearing you, but I'm not. This is where really like pain defying feats and really deep transformative work can happen here.
Yeah.
Delta is sleep, that deep sleep then that we reach. So when we're engaging in hypnosis, some of it happens in beta. Some of it happens in that conversation where we're just
Hmm.
reframing and making those conversational mindset shifts there. But then it's really that alpha and theta work where we're towing the line of not having you fall asleep, which, side note, people that spend a lot of time in beta, often when they first come in to see me, within like 5 minutes, they're out. They fall asleep. And for me, that's often the time we're like, oh, your nervous system has actually been going so intensely. It
Yes.
just needed that rest. But with hypnosis, we're really playing with those alpha and theta brainwave states to deeply relax you while still having you be alert and conscious and awake.
Okay, so I want to describe for people a couple of things the best that I can so that they can get a feeling for what this feels like. Because when I first lay down, it kind of feels like, okay, I'm laying down and we go through like getting in touch with my body. And I'm like consciously, that's a key word, consciously trying to relax my body.
You're
And
focusing on it.
yes, exactly, focusing on it. And there's always a point in the hypnosis where I realize that Julia sounds really far away. And I'm like, And then that kind of like triggers my conscious brain to be like, oh, yeah, she's talking to you about something. Like, maybe you should listen to her a little bit. And then it feels to me like when you wake up on a Sunday morning and you're dreaming and you know that you don't have an alarm that's going to wake you up. And so you're in that really comfy, cozy place where you're kind of in your dream, but you're kind of conscious. And it's like you're towing the line between dream state and being awake.
Exactly that.
But you're safe to be in dream state and it feels so good. You don't want to go anywhere else. That's the experience for me. And just that like warm, cozy, lovely feeling is enough to make it worth it. But like what happens subconsciously and like the things that we're talking about is what makes it 10,000 times more valuable. But just that coziness factor is like what the experience is like for me.
So I love that you mentioned that because in order for hypnosis to be successful, we don't have to go that deep. In my practice, bring in, it's a lot of like trancy, deep, relaxing work because I work with high performers that so tend to struggle slowing down and actually resting. And so deep subconscious transformation happens at the alpha level. It happens at those lighter levels. And the reason that I do it in this way is it's teaching you, it's teaching your subconscious, it's teaching your body, like, oh, this is safe for us to relax. We can relax without collapsing. We can relax without having to fall asleep. You're getting the really regenerative benefits of it while we are also doing the reprogramming work.
And I will say too, just as an anecdote for people, one of our friends that sees Julia, he was told that he fell asleep during a session. He was like, no, I didn't. This is the most successful, high performing, high achieving person that I know. And Julia records the sessions and he called us back and he was like, I listened back to my recording and I was literally snoring. It can happen, but like, I'm not surprised. Like he worked so hard and so smart. And that was probably just what he needed in that session, right?
I trust it. So when people fall asleep, I think that that's actually the most valuable thing for them because if your nervous system starts to relax and then realizes how exhausted it is, if it needs sleep, sleep. And part of our work with my clients, it's why I give people recordings, it's why we do multiple sessions, is then the more that your nervous system starts to adjust to this,
Uh-huh.
then you start to find, oh, I can go deep without falling asleep. I'm actually more rested and have more ability to be here without completely turning off.
Okay. And so let's talk about too, because the thing that's always so like the part of hypnosis that I look forward to the most is this staircase. There's always a staircase. I know that's like a trope. I think everybody knows this. Like I'm going to count down from 10. What is that?
So the staircase is a deepener. It is a technique that we use to deepen your level of relaxation. And the subconscious mind is it works through way of images and metaphors. Many people are visual. Even if you aren't visual, we've all walked down a staircase. So you can imagine it, you can pretend it. We all have some kind of experience with that. So we're using this metaphoric language pairing that with the numbers to say, okay, now you're relaxing down deeper. and deeper. And you can feel that as you're going down each step you go, you feel yourself relaxing down deeper. I staircase often. We can also use sometimes, I think we've done this. I used a slide for you once.
Yeah.
Use an elevator. It doesn't have to be. So it's not that it has to be a stairway necessarily. We can also just count. We can just count from 10 to 1. But when we add that extra level of metaphor to it, the subconscious brain really likes it. It's like, yes, I know exactly what this means. Oh, I can feel myself relaxing deeper and deeper with each step.
Okay, I love it. So, I mean, there's so many like logistical pieces that we haven't even talked about what's happening with the beliefs and the subconscious yet. Like, this is all the like practical stuff, like what to expect when you're going to hypnosis, because there's so many, like I said, nuanced details. And like, I just can't emphasize it enough. It feels good. But let's kind of switch and talk about what we're talking about, right? What happens after you get into that relaxed state when you start to really craft the stories and you start to provide guidance to my subconscious brain or my conscious brain of what it is we're going to work on, which is what we discussed before we even get to this relaxed state. I mean, what's happening? What's happening in my brain?
A lot, so many different pieces. Let's see. So one of the things that I like to weave into my sessions is, so there's two pieces that I want to talk about. One, and this work comes from a lot of actual like trauma recovery work and just basic nervous system level work, is we can think about, we first need to regulate the system. Then we can do that kind of deeper reprogramming work. And then we need time for integration.
Okay.
I weave that into individual sessions, right? So first we're regulating, first we're relaxing, then we do reprogramming. I'm going to answer your question in a minute. We'll talk about like, what are we doing there? And then I always give you time at the end where we're integrating. And now we're just kind of like taking it all back in. I'm playing the sound bowls. You're really just absorbing the work that we've done. I will also follow that flow when I work with clients over multiple sessions. Sometimes our first session is really just regulating focused because our minds are so active. We're not, so it takes us a couple sessions of really creating that sense of safety before we dive deeper then into the reprogramming work. And then we can do more integration work. So that kind of flow can be in an individual session or over the course of sessions. When we're doing the reprogramming piece, and I think that's what you're asking about, of like, what are you doing once I'm relaxed, right? I like to always start with deprogramming. We're removing what is not helpful. Then we're installing new beliefs. And on either end of that, we're bookending it with how you're wanting to feel and the positive components of it. So a large part of the way that we understand hypnosis to work, and like a lot of the field, like psychology, we don't have exact models. We don't know. We do have more and more evidence suggesting that it works. We don't exactly know the mechanisms behind why. Dr. Dan Siegel is somebody, he's at Stanford. He's doing some really cool research trying to start understanding this. But one of the things that we know is that your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So whether we are imagining you where you want to be, you are rich, your bank account is overflowing, you're budgeting, you're mindful of your finances, you're spending intentionally, we're really anchoring you into where you want to be. Or we're going back to past experiences where you maybe learned some of those limiting beliefs around money, that money doesn't grow on trees and you can't always depend on it, or, you need to spend a certain way to look a certain way, whatever those limiting beliefs are. When you are in that relaxed trance state and we take you back through different, you'll see I use different visualizations, different metaphors, different techniques to kind of revisit some of those past events in a way that still feels safe and you're still in your body. When we change how you think about it and how you feel about it in this state, it actually changes the memory. It changes the way that it's stored in your brain. And so it now starts to change your reactions moving out in the world. It's why I love hypnosis so much. So much of meditation, we're being with what's here. And that's a part of hypnosis. It's important, that mindfulness. And when we add on this layer, we're actually changing the reactions. And so we can change people's default, our triggers, the things that send us into that fight or flight response. We can change the beliefs that we truly have. So it's less of that, like, right, I know it's safe for me to have money consciously, but we're now starting to, at that like default level, really believe that.
Yeah, the beliefs. And one of the things that I always find it so hard, the question to answer, we talked about when we start the session, it's like, okay, what are the wins? What do we want to work on? What do we want to change? And you always ask me, what do you need to believe in order for that change to happen? And that's the hardest question for me. And I think what you're working on is like those very base level beliefs that are going to influence our thoughts and our feelings and our actions and our results. Is that right?
Exactly that.
Okay.
And it's often we're so used to thinking about, I know where I am now. I know what I believe now. We feel disconnected and we're not practiced at associating with who we're wanting to be and how that person would think and what they must believe around money. And so
Right.
part of it's we're detaching and deprogramming from this grip that we have on, but here I am now
Yeah.
to be able to open up to what it is we want.
And I think one of the things that is so interesting, I mean, we're on a money podcast. Everybody that's listening to this is interested in earning more, having more, and capacity was a huge thing that I came to you with. My capacity block, so to speak, was about my energy. And I really struggled with this. I'm talking about this for years. I can't do any more. I'm already at my max. Like, how can I have more if I can't do more? And I had these beliefs that I had to do it all myself and I didn't have the support or people that I could count on. And you guys, some of the visualizations, and I also should say, I don't remember every single thing that happens in our hypnosis sessions, but there are some things that are so locked into my brain that they do feel like, well, they are a real memory because I thought them once and I remember having them. Where Julia was walking me through approaching this beautiful door. It's got this gorgeous handle that you're reaching, see your hand reaching to the door, and you're going to open this door. And within this room are all of the limiting beliefs, and you're going to let these limiting beliefs flow out of the door. And me and my brain, I'm like having this beautiful experience. And here I come with a gas powered leaf blower in my own head, you guys. And I go into this room and I've got a leaf blower and I'm like up in the right corner, up in the left corner, and I'm blowing all of these limiting beliefs out of this room. And when I tell you, I literally have never had a worry about having enough energy to do the things that I want to do and accomplish since that session. I don't feel tired the way that I used to. I don't feel exhausted. I don't waste energy thinking about, do I have enough capacity to do this? Instead, my focus is, let me find the support. Let's figure out how to get this done. And it has been such a game changer in my life, like changed my whole paradigm of how I approach work, which relates to how much money I can have capacity for. It all comes back to that for me. So, talk to us a little bit about that expanding capacity hypnosis. What does that mean?
I think there's two components to this. So, one, and I think this ties into some of this conversation we've been having around the nervous system and really starting to look at this. We were saying, most high performers are dysregulated.
We all are. Why is that?
But why are our nervous systems so dysregulated?
Yes.
In part, our culture rewards it. A dysregulated nervous system simply means that we're spending more of our time in a fight or flight or freeze or fawn response. And for high performers, often that is a fight or a freeze response, which are quote unquote productive responses. Because what we can do in those states, even though they can feel very frantic and anxious or like that frozen, but we're still getting things done state, we're still producing. We're still showing up. We're still meeting all of the quote unquote like functional deadlines. And when we get things done, we are rewarded financially from our peers, from our bosses, like from people around us. So the pace that our culture moves at naturally is a dysregulating one. If you are a minority, if you are a woman, if you're a person who moves through the world with marginalized identity, now there's all these other factors that are coming in from social places that just make it so normal and human to experience dysregulation. And our systems are inherently resilient and powerful. And so I think a piece of this is most of us were not taught what it means to regulate our nervous systems. How do we effectively get out of our heads, get into our bodies, complete the stress response cycle? And when we do, we find out like, oh, I actually can continue going. And so I think this ties into this conversation around capacity because I hold the belief most high performers that I know myself, there is a desire to do a lot in the world. Personally, professionally, we've got these big goals and desires. I don't think that's bad. It's a beautiful thing. It also doesn't have to be done in a hustle culture way, in a way that we're now ignoring our body's needs and we're completely overextending. So when we learn to actually complete the stress response cycle, regulate your nervous system, and come back to that space where you can recharge, your capacity is infinite. You can continue to go. We can get tired. We can get stressed. We can get anxious. That's all okay. And we don't have to spend the majority of our time there. So I think a part of this is we just haven't been taught the tools we've been taught how to push. We need
Yes.
to remember really how to rest, how to regulate, how to restore our energy. And when we do that, now we've got capacity. The other piece of this then are those beliefs too that say, oh, well, I picked up this thing that like I constantly have to be overextending. I think there are a lot of money beliefs that we know, and I know you talk about this, that keep us poor, that keep us impulse spending, that keep us not investing, that keep us not trusting. I think the core of those beliefs tend to still distill down into some form of people pleasing, some form of perfectionism, or some form of my productivity determines my worth. So I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep doing it for other people. I need to be perfect in some way. And when those subconscious beliefs are there, doesn't matter how much we know we should rest, or how much we know like rest is good for us, self-care, put on your oxygen mask first. None of that matters when those beliefs are there driving the bus, so to speak.
100%. I think one of the things, just as an aside of my own experience that I've learned through this process of working with you is you even said it at the beginning of this call. It's like, I want to be a high performer. And so I'm going to change how I eat, exercise more. I'm going to do more things to be better. And in this process, all I do, you guys, is I go to Julia's office and I lay on the ground. I do nothing and it all changes. It has been such a lesson in that, like, what's the least I can do? What's the minimum viable effort that I can do? Basically, it feels so effortless for me to go and do hypnosis with you. It's enjoyable. And yet things are changing without me having to do more things.
Yes.
That's like not how my brain thinks things should work. I think I should have to do more to get more.
Yeah. And what's so interesting about this, if we talk about either like manifestation or hyperform, any element of this, I believe change happens because we do things. We do. We have to make change. Sometimes that change is delegating. Sometimes that change is growing our team. Sometimes it's investing. So it's doing differently. But we
Right.
ultimately have to do things in our external world. It is our internal beliefs, our emotional state, and our capacity that stop us from doing. So
Mm.
especially when you know what you should be doing or quote unquote need to be doing, you should be doing, and you're not, it's a really good indicator that there is a subconscious piece at play. And when we say less doing, more being, that doesn't necessarily mean being by like collapsing on our couch, scrolling through the phone and Netflixing at the same time where we're thinking about resting, but not fully resting. That's not the kind of being that we're talking about. When we say more being, less doing, it's this really recharging, restful, receiving kind of being.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Okay, so let's get into this talk about money a little bit too, because I know that's what the girlies are here for. So, what are some of the sneakiest subconscious money blocks that you help people overcome?
A big one is this I don't have capacity, or some version of I don't have time. I don't have time to do the new things that I want to do to build new wealth. I don't have time to, and it depends on what journey we are at, where we're at financially, right? If we're just starting with awareness, if now we're starting with building. But when we look at that scarcity mindset, it's not just, oh, I don't have enough money. It's, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough capacity to be able to do the things that I want to do. I'm not going to be able to sustain it longer. And then I think what I also see is as we move into these different levels of growth and wealth, fears start to arise of now I can't manage this new level of wealth. I can't trust myself to stay here. I can't believe that I'm going to be in this space, even though now I no longer have credit card debt. Now I'm, regularly bringing in so much more. And now it becomes, I can't trust myself to manage this new level of wealth, even though you've accrued it and done the work. So it's a scarcity mindset that shows up, I think, in all of these different ways in different levels.
Yeah, what are the beliefs or the changes that people need to adopt or that you see that help people go from that scarcity mindset to abundance?
I think it all starts with grounding back into safety. So
Yeah.
those core beliefs of I'm safe. You notice I weave this into all of our work. It's all around feeling safe, perceiving safety, physically embodying that sense of safety in your nervous system. So
Yeah.
I'm safe. I'm worthy, I'm enough. I'm safe, I'm worthy, I'm enough. And sometimes that's this base work. And then we start to say, and because of that, I can take this next step. And maybe this next step is now just starting to look at my finances, or it's starting to budget, or it's starting to learn about investing. And then as we reach that new level, now we've reached out of our comfort zone. Now come back and remind myself, oh, even here at this new level, I'm safe and I'm worthy, I'm enough. I'm safe, I'm worthy enough. And then I can take the next step. And so whatever the belief is, it can be I'm deserving of money, more money can come to me, I can handle great wealth, I can attract wealth, I don't have to work for it. There's all these different flavors of it that we all find in different, I think, different ways. It always comes back to that perceived sense of safety, remembering that you are safe, you are worthy, you are enough. And then we shift it. And then what's the new habit? What is, okay, so now I'm looking at my finances, now I'm investing, now I'm doing this. Safety, more, safety, and more.
Yeah. And I want to add some context to that as well, because that safety thing has been really core for me in my journey with you, of feeling safe and supported, and knowing that if I want to do all these big things, or I want to grow the business, or I want to start another business, like I have the support and it's safe to do it. And I'm not going to kill myself trying to achieve my goals. And so when, Julia is saying this, and again, we're talking very, I want to say like conscious level, but like, let me tell you guys what happens actually for me in our sessions. I'm like laying in a meadow with flowers from, Alice in Wonderland that are like singing around me. And I'm like comfortable, and my dog is there, and I'm having the best day ever. And then all of a sudden I'm like standing on the side of a lake, and there's this beautiful mountain. Poppy's always there next to me by my side. And then I'm in this huge, beautiful stucco room sitting in a shell, like a pearl, looking over the Mediterranean Ocean. Like, what? That's what's happening in my brain. Like the level of visualization and memories, you guys. Like I am there present in these experiences that become a part of my memories. Like I've been there in my real life, that create such a feeling of safety or a place to go back to. So if it wasn't for Julia walking me through, look at the staircase. There's a staircase to your right. It might look however you might want it to look. And by the way, it's always white stucco and like Mediterranean, and there's never a
Of
stair
course.
rail. And it's just like
I love it.
so chic and like, a moment. And then it's always walking down to my little safe room. And that safe room now in my conscious day to day life is kind of like a place that I can remember to go to like reacclimate myself with like, I'm good, I'm safe. Oh, I'm more conscious of those limiting beliefs popping up. Whereas before, they were just beliefs. They didn't have the label of limiting. But now all of a sudden, I have these other places to go, and these memories and these experiences that I've had with her in session, to where when she says something like, oh, we're saying you are safe and I am worthy and I am enough, it doesn't even scratch the surface of the weight of the experience of knowing truly in my soul, in my heart, in my brain, that I am enough, that I am safe. I have the experience of it. I'm not just being told it. It's so heavy. I don't even know how to say it.
The way that you just described that is so perfect, because there's the difference. We can sit here and we can all say affirmations. I'm safe and I'm loved and I'm enough. And you're like, okay, consciously, I get that concept.
Yeah.
Consciously, sure, I guess I'm worthy of this.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit when we're in that trance state and you are experiencing it. And this is what's so powerful. Remember, the subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and imagined. So whether you are truly experiencing a bank account that is overflowing and constantly receiving new money, and whether you're actively experiencing that, or you are in this space where you can feel it and you can embody it and you can know what it feels like to do that, for your subconscious mind, it's the same thing. And it creates that future memory, this neuroplastic pathway that now says, oh, this is available to me. This is open to me.
Yeah. And I think for people that are familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, this conversation has some memory there too, because that's kind of how he talks about like experiencing a future memory. But I have to tell you guys that working with Julia, like you are such a powerful facilitator, and you're so present, and you make the experience so effective, because I'm also at that point in my life too, where like, if I go to the gym, I'm not training hard. Okay. If I go by myself, like I'm just like showing up, I'm going to walk on the treadmill and be like, peace. And I'm going to get out of there. I need somebody to hold my hand, hold me accountable, be great at what they're doing to guide me like a coach. So I feel like going to hypnosis is like getting my reps in at the basketball court. You know what I mean? It's like I'm going to shoot free throws with you every single time I go to practice how I want to feel in the future.
Yes. And it's why, I recommend self-hypnosis as a practice because anytime that we are visualizing, when we're relaxing our bodies, we're visualizing, this is how I want to feel. We talk about this a lot. With manifestation, right? There's that idea of like, so how do you want to feel? How will you feel when you achieve this outcome? Visualizing that, feeling that on your own as many times a day as possible. That's that self-hypnotic work.
Yeah.
Life changing and deeply powerful. And the way that I describe it for myself, I can give myself a shoulder massage right now. And I'm like, yeah, that feels nice. And it helps throughout the day. And I do some shoulder rolls and it breaks up the tension. Receiving a massage, vastly different experience. Allowing someone else to massage my brain for me,
Mm,
it's more efficient. It's faster. It's
yes.
longer lasting. It's less work. And I'm
Yes.
all about outsourcing what I know that someone else can help me do better. I, as a hypnotist, still receive hypnosis. Can I do it myself? Yes. And there's just having somebody else come in and hold that mirror up and then massage your brain for you is it just feels so good. It's so
Perfect
effective.
analogy. It is a brain massage,
Yes.
1000%. Okay, so can you give people some guidance if they wanted to work on a little bit of self hypnosis at home? Like, what would you tell them to do?
Number one, sit somewhere that is calm. Find a quiet space. I love my noise canceling headphones. Create a ritual around it. You can light a candle, you can burn some incense, diffuse an oil, put on a lotion that you love, any kind of sensory experience. And by the way, all of this can take less than 5 minutes, but it just starts to anchor your brain into I'm here to do something intentional and important. To keep this super simple, take 3 deep, slow breaths. Relax your body. Unhinge your jaw. Drop your shoulder. See if you can let go of any tension in the hips. Feel your feet on the ground. Take another deep breath. This could be it. This could be as much as you relax. You could relax more. There's all kinds of fun techniques we can layer in. Maybe with your eyes closed down, you roll them up into the back of your head. So you could look up into the back of your head and you'll feel this flickering, this fluttering of your eyelids, the brain's moving down into that alpha brainwave state. Then just start to connect with how it is you want to feel, who you want to be when you are rich and wealthy. What does your bank account look like? How are you spending your time? How do you wake up feeling in the morning? How do you move through your day? What conversations do you have and don't you? What do you look at on your computer, on your phone? What don't you? What are you spending on? What are you not? Visualize that. Feel that. If you're not a visual person, imagine that in as much detail as you can. Feel that feeling, what it feels like to be so wealthy, so provided for, so resourced, so safe. Breathe into that. You can bring in your affirmations. I am wealthy. I am learning all of these tools and skills. I am gaining more and more money every day. I'm getting richer and richer each and every day. And then come back into your day. And this can take 30 seconds. This can take 5 minutes. We could spend 45 minutes on it. But it's that act of relaxing and connecting with who you want to be, how you want to feel. That's your most potent self practice.
The better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets.
The better it gets.
I hope you guys heard too, especially at the beginning of that little self hypnosis, like your voice is so trance-like and like you have this great variation in your voice that kind of like keeps you like, da, 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 da. Like it's such good cadence. And I'm so grateful for everything that you have done for me and for my friends and for my family. And you guys, you need to reach out to Julia to work with her if you're interested at all in manifestation, in hypnosis, in uncovering your subconscious blocks, your money blocks. If you need to calm your financial fight or flight or your just nervous system fight or flight, Julia, how can people reach you, work with you, get a hold of you?
Thank you so much. We'll share links to my sites, and Instagram is my main social platform. I also do 10 of these sessions a month. It's just a one-off single session. If you're like, I think this might be supportive for me, I'm not sure. If you're looking to regulate your nervous system a little bit, clear a specific belief around money. The session is super supportive for that. If you're here in San Diego, we can do it in person. I do them virtually. But so I offer 10 of these for 50% off each month. We'll put the link in the show notes and you can have access to that. So if you want to jump on that, it's first come, first serve. But I'd love to get to connect with any of you and really just connect you to the modality, connect you back into yourselves and relaxing your minds and your bodies.
You guys, you need it. Julia, before I let you go today, I would love to do some rapid fire rich girl questions so we can get to know you a little bit more. Are you down?
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. Okay, tell us, what's your favorite place to vacation?
Anywhere with mountains and hot springs is mine, hands down.
Ooh,
Doesn't matter
do you have
where
a good recommendation?
My favorite, there's a really good one up in Mammoth that I loved. And then surprisingly, like there was this place I went to in Cluj in Romania. That was one of the coolest ones that I've ever been to. It was like in a cave and just really neat.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What's the best investment you've ever made?
Hands down, my coaches and my hypnotherapists.
I co-sign.
Yeah, easy.
What is your guilty pleasure?
I don't have guilty pleasures. I think pleasure drives profit. So it's not guilty.
Oh my God. Mic drop. Pleasure drives profit. I love that. So
that
good.
being said, give me a massage every single day. Like that is what I will be like, yes, this just feels good. This is pleasure for me. I want body work.
Love that. What is some advice you would give to 21-year-old you?
There is nothing broken about you. Surround yourself with other people. Let them teach you, learn from them, let them lift you up. It is going to be so much better than you have ever imagined.
I love that. And the last one is, what in your life makes you feel the wealthiest?
Time freedom. Having the ability to schedule my day to sometimes I want to work, sometimes I want to go take care of my body, sometimes I want to be with people that I love. That makes me feel like the richest woman I've ever known.
I love that so much. I have to agree. That's also my number one. Julia, I could literally do this whole podcast session with you again because I still have 45,000 more questions, but we are at our time. I have to thank you again so much for being here. Guys, all of the links to get in touch with Julia are going to be in the show notes. I'm going to ask you back again soon. We loved having you. Thank you so much.
This was so fun, like a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Feeling rich? I hope so. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Old Money. If you have questions you want answered, email me at oldmoneypodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on social. We are at Old Money Podcast and I am at your service. If this episode spoke to you, inspired you, helped you, if you took a single note, it would mean the world to me if you could please just take a minute to rate and review the podcast. And if you're not doing so already, subscribe. And if you have friends who like getting rich, please share this episode with them, even if it's just on your Instagram story. And I'd love you more than Jeff Bezos loves Amazon Prime. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Remember, I'm not your lawyer, I'm not your tax professional, and I'm not your financial advisor. The content presented in this podcast is intended to entertain, educate, inspire, and support listeners in their personal and professional development and does not constitute business, financial, or legal advice. In addition to that, this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services.